It would cost $1,689,000,000 for somebody to build a network big enough to hack Bitcoin. And on top of that would go the $3 million hourly bill in order to make this happen. So you would need 1,600,000 of these devices. So you would basically have to have a a homemade power plant where you would create your own energy for a whole country basically. So I think that this whole blockchain thing is pretty unstoppable, and I think that hacking Bitcoin or hacking any other cryptocurrency is not profitable. It's not, you cannot make money on it. Hey guys, RP here from Crypto Clarity, and as you saw in the intro, in a couple of clips, I will talk about how easy it is to hack Bitcoin, quote unquote hack, how easy it is to, how much would it cost to hack Bitcoin, and in general, I will talk about some things which you have to know in order to understand what I'm talking about later in the video regarding the hacking part. You have to understand how does Bitcoin work first, then you understand how can it be hacked. So let's start with the first part. This will be a bit boring, but it will be kind of short. I will keep it simple and I will keep it short. Alright, so let's shoot up our trusty Photoshop here. And what you need to know is that Bitcoin. Oh, by the way, if you already know the concepts of Bitcoin, then you just check the annotations, the small description of the video, and you can jump right to the juicy part of the video. But if you don't, then you just keep watching for a bit and you will see what is up. So Bitcoin is ran by so-called miners who basically verify all the transactions going on in the Bitcoin network. You send me 1 Bitcoin, I send you 2 Bitcoin, and these things are broadcasted to the miners who actually make these transactions so to say valid. How do they do this? Each of the transaction goes into a block. A block is just a set of transactions, and I could illustrate a block with a line here. So this is like a line full of transactions. So the thing is that in order to a miner to make a transaction valid, he has to solve the puzzle of the transaction. How does he do that? He basically just tries random numbers until he finds the right one. And when he does that, then he found a block, he gets a reward from that, he gets actually Bitcoin, and the whole block gets transmitted to everybody in the network, everybody who owns the whole transaction history. And maybe my transaction is inside there, your transaction is inside there, and then basically the transaction happens this way. This actually takes 10 minutes on average. And then, the next transaction starts, the next block starts to fill with all the transactions, and when the 10-minute mark hits, it again, bam, usually the solution will be found within 10 minutes. Yep. The interesting thing is that when the next block starts, it actually includes some information from the previous block. So this is why it is a blockchain, because there are many blocks in it, and the blocks contain links inside the whole thing. So one block is linked to the other block. Another block is getting born, and then another thing like this is getting born. And because of that, if somebody would want to crack this chain, then the chain wouldn't be compatible with each other, if you think about it. Because if you would want to let's make red color, if you would want to crack this one, then if you would want to run the whole chain of transactions, the information wouldn't match in the next block, because the top of the block would be different. And the other thing which is very, very important is that finding these block puzzle answers are very, very hard and take a lot of energy, a lot of money. And these miners are running these sick mining operations of hangar size mining operations in order to find these answers to these blocks. And that makes Bitcoin so secure, because not everybody can do that. And it's actually the fact that you find the answer to a block puzzle means that you worked a lot to it. And it's actually like a proof. If you imagine you wrote a paper with your own hand, the assignment is to copy 10 pages from a book. You do that, and then you show it to the teacher, that's a proof that you did that work, because it's your handwriting and only you could have done it, and you cannot cheat it. Like the same thing is going on in the miner world. Like you cannot really cheat it, because there's like a proof that you did the work. So not everybody can do this. And this is when the hacking part comes into play. So if there would be like a longest chain, which is, so the chain is like very long, and this is how it went right from the beginning. So if there would be like a long chain, and if somebody would want to hack it, I would just draw this really nicely. Yeah, it's not that nice, but still. Yeah, this would go like this, I think, yeah. Then if somebody would want to break it and hack it, then he would do it in the following way. So for instance, in this chain right here, you made a transaction for 10,000 bitcoins. You sent somebody 10,000 bitcoins. And what you could do, if you would have a lot of hashing power, you could make another block, make a copy of this block right here next to it, in a different, like you would start to calculate a different block where you don't include that transaction of the 10,000 bitcoins. That's the important part. You don't include it, and because miners can decide which transactions are included or not, you know, and you would exclude your own transaction of 10,000 bitcoins. So you would calculate the block out in a way that the transaction is not inside it. That, for instance, I mean, that for sure would mess up the wall-like chain, because it wouldn't be compatible anymore with the next chain in the line. So the problem is that now you would have to calculate all over again the rest of the chains which are afterwards. And while you keep doing this, the rest of the network goes on and finds the chain answers all over again. So this is why you need 51% of the network hashing power, of the network like problem solving power, of the network like book copying pages kind of speed, because you have to catch up, and you cannot really catch up otherwise, only if you are a bit faster. So this is why you need the 51% of the network hashing power in order to make this work. And yeah, like you could do something like this, and after a while your chain would get longer, and that means that the network would start to accept your chain as the most valid chain, because it is logical that you put a lot of work in it, so people start to trust you even more and more and more, and after a while they will start to mine on your chain. They would start to adapt your chain, and then, you know, the hacking would be done, and the 10,000 bitcoins would be back on your account. It wouldn't be back because in this reality, in your chain, it never left your account. So you basically just scammed somebody with 10,000 bitcoins. So that would be the thing, the idea, the concept. Now, how would you do this, and how much would it cost? All right, let's get into that. So how expensive would it be for a hacker to do this? 51%. 51%, getting 51% mining power, keeping that up and doing this hack. Alright, so I brought a calculator and I checked the Bitcoin energy consumption right now. So right now Bitcoin, the old Bitcoin network costs 2.3 terawatt per hours to maintain. So 22.3 terawatts mean it is 22.3 times 100, 1000, that's 22,300 gigawatts of consumption, and that is times 1000, that is, I think it's 22 million megawatts of consumption per hour. And basically, if you would take like a normal electricity bill, that would cost like $0.15 per hour for every megawatt. So basically, if you multiply these two, then you would realize that for a hacker to hack Bitcoin for 1 hour, it would cost him $3,300 per hour just to run the network. And we never spoke about actually buying the equipment to mine on it. because I don't know, let's check how much is an SC miner. Alright, so far we agreed that it costs $3.3 million per hour to run a Bitcoin network on 51% power. One thing which we have to add here is that somebody who wants to hack the network has to have at least as much hashing power, more hashing power than the current network. So he has to double that chart what you are seeing right now. It has to double it, so it would be actually like double, not like half of it. That's only 33%, I think, but doubling it. That's very important here. So doubling it and maintaining it and running it costs $3.3 million. The other important thing is that how expensive it is to buy the actual equipment to double it. So the cool thing is that I made this little calculator here. I got like the most common and the best miners in 2017 and what is their performance, what is their cost. I added their cost together, I added their performance together, and then I calculated out like how expensive it is to get like 1 terahash per second. And it is actually $156 to get 1 terahash. Now let's check how much terahash is going on right now in the Bitcoin network. So I have here Bitcoin hash rate, and actually the hash rate now is 10,800,000 terahash. So if we just multiply these two together, so 10,820 10, 827, how much was it? 706 times $156. It would cost $1,689,000,000 for somebody to build a network big enough to hack Bitcoin. And on top of that would go the $3 million hourly bill in order to make this happen. So the cool thing is that this is kind of a large chunk of money, and we didn't even talk about problems like what happens if the whole network gets hacked and the price falls down because everybody realizes that this is not okay and somebody hacked the network. Well, then your investment would go to shit because your gains of Bitcoin would worth nothing. So that's the other thing. Also, like, how the heck are you gonna get that much of an equipment for yourself? Where will you build it? That would be like a huge operation if you would want to build this. But even if you could get a big ass hangar, which I don't even know how big that would be, but it would be like huge. I mean, you would have to have like how many devices? Let's check that too. I mean, let's say you buy the Antminer R4, which is like the most compact one of these. So you buy them for $1,000. So divided by 1,000, I think this is right. I'm not sure. Then I think it's about right. I think it's not completely right, but it's okay. So you would need 1,600,000 of these devices. I mean, where are you gonna put 1 million of these devices? Also, there's a fun fact that Bitcoin now, the energy consumption of the whole mining is now right in between the energy consumption of the country Nigeria and Ecuador. So you would basically have to like have a homemade power plant where you would create your own energy for a whole country basically. So that's the other problem with hacking it. But even if you would have that, and even if you would like have all the equipment and you would put like close to $2 billion for each maintenance, I mean for each day of maintenance, I mean it's 3.3 million per hour. So if you multiply that by 24, it's 80 million per day to run the Bitcoin network. And if you would run it for like 30 days, then it's actually 240 million, I think, to run it. So this is very expensive. It would cost like $2 billion to hack the network, and even then the price would go to shit afterwards because everybody would panic sell and the Bitcoin network would have no value afterwards, and then your investment would be in vain basically. So now you kind of understand like why, I mean, how easy it is to hack it, how expensive it is to hack it, and like all the obstacles which goes into hack. I mean, all the obstacles which goes against hacking it actually makes it so secure against these kind of attacks. And as far as I know, well, there are other types of attacks which we'll talk about later, but as far as I know, this is one of the most common possibilities of getting, Bitcoin attacks. So the only thing which I can imagine of happening with Bitcoin it would be if a government would want to ruin it, and then the government would basically borrow $2 billion or $3 billion dollars, and then he would like make his own miner, GPU miner setup and company, and they would like build exclusively for a government these kind of miners, and then the government would build a power plant or some kind of similar thing, and then the government would intentionally ruin it under the hood so that Bitcoin wouldn't work. But then again, the government wouldn't really work. I mean, it wouldn't really work for the government if you think about it, because another coin would appear and the people would start using that. So I think that this whole blockchain thing is pretty unstoppable, and I think that hacking Bitcoin or hacking any other cryptocurrency is not profitable. It's not, you cannot make money on it. So only if you are willing to spend a lot of money on it and you have other incentives, then you have actually a rational idea of hacking it. Oh, and another thing which I forgot about is that when you, for instance, try to hack the Bitcoin network and you have all the mining equipment and you have all the energy consumption and you have it all set up and it's working, you still have to combat the fact that the network will grow and you have to grow with the network. So you have to keep building this, which adds another expense kind of category, which depends on the growth rate, but it will be a few percentile during each month for sure. So you have to add that to the whole calculation. And another interesting thing is that you could hack the Bitcoin network in a way where you rent hashing power, and that way you actually reduce the miners who mine against you, and you increase your mining possibility, and then you probably have to spend less money. But then again, how much can you rent? How much mining equipment can you rent? I don't think that you can rent so much. I just say this from the top of my head, so I'm not sure, but maybe like 30% of the mining network you could rent. I don't think so. I think it's probably like 10. So basically that would be like a 20% difference, because they decrease by 10%, you increase in 10%. And then you would have to complete the rest of the mining equipment with your own assets and your own factory and stuff like that. Another interesting thing is that it is possible to make a Sybil attack with less than 51% of mining hash power. So you could do it with 49, with 45, with 42, but the less you have compared to the whole mining pool, the harder it is to actually get lucky enough to proceed faster in the chain formations than the actual block which is going next to it. So there are the real miners, they go on like this, and you are like trying to get trying to get over them and try to mine more, so your chain gets chosen instead of the real chain. But the thing is that they have more hashing power, so they go faster. So maybe they go faster, but if you get really, really lucky, then you find the solutions to the problems in the blockchain faster. And then you could bypass it by 6 blocks, but that's very, very unlikely. So that's the whole idea, and I'm really glad that I finally could understand this, and I'm really glad that I could give this to you. Maybe it was a bit cluttery still, but I hope you really liked it. And yeah, so I guess now I will go make a cut here and talk about the outro. So hopefully this was useful for you, and then you like this video. It was a bit rambly, I know, and there was some math in it too, but I think that these things are important in order to clarify all the things which needed to be known in order to understand this video. If you like this video, then press the like button. If you like to see more, then press the subscribe button. And yeah, so see you in my next video, which will probably about Byzantine attacks in the Bitcoin network. So see you guys.